The Sara Sharif case has rapidly emerged as one of the most tragic and talked about cases in recent years. The young girl, a victim of an unfathomable act, became the focus of global media attention due to the mysterious and heartbreaking circumstances surrounding her death. This case raises critical questions about child welfare, family dynamics, and the broader implications of justice. The complex investigation has captivated public interest, with numerous theories circulating about the nature of her death and the people responsible. Background: who was Sara Sharif? Sara Sharif was an 11-year-old girl living in Woking, Surrey, United Kingdom. Known to be a bright, outgoing child, Sara was beloved by those who knew her. Her tragic death, however, brought her name into the public spotlight. Born into a family with a complicated history, Sara's life and her untimely death became a focal point of law enforcement, media, and public attention. Sara had been living with her father, Urfan Sharif, and his partner, Beinash Batool, along with her siblings. While little was known publicly about her home life, there were reports that Sara had endured periods of neglect and witnessed troubling family dynamics before her death. The Sharif family's circumstances were a combination of domestic issues, cultural tensions, and a complicated family structure. Discovery of Sara Sharif's body. The case first drew attention in August 2023 when the police discovered Sara Sharif's body at her family's home. The initial investigation suggested that Sara had been found in an extreme state of neglect. Her death was ruled suspicious from the outset, with authorities unsure whether it was the result of an accident, a crime, or an intentional act. What followed was a series of developments that would make the investigation into Sara's death one of the most high-profile in recent UK history. The investigative breakthroughs. In the days and weeks following the discovery of Sara's body, authorities worked tirelessly to piece together the events leading to her death. Investigators discovered that Sara had suffered multiple injuries, including some that appeared to be consistent with physical abuse. There were indications that Sara had been subjected to severe physical harm before her death, and forensic analysis would later reveal a shocking combination of factors contributing to her demise. The breakthrough in the case came when police found that the family had fled the UK shortly after Sara's death. Her father, Urfan Sharif, and his partner, Beinash Batool, along with their children, had traveled to Pakistan, raising suspicions of a possible cover-up. Investigators quickly sought international assistance to track down the family members involved. International manhunt for Urfan Sharif and his family. Once it became clear that Sara's family had fled the country, an international manhunt ensued. Law enforcement agencies in the UK, Pakistan, and Interpol collaborated to track down Urfan Sharif and his family. The case drew significant media attention, particularly given the nature of the crime and the fact that the suspects had fled the country. This move suggested that they may have been attempting to evade justice, further heightening the public interest in the case. In Pakistan, authorities soon confirmed that Urfan Sharif and his family had arrived in the country. But the situation was complicated by the fact that Sara's family had strong ties to the region. As a result, finding the suspects was not a simple task, and it became clear that this case would require careful coordination between local and international law enforcement agencies. The role of family in the tragedy. As investigators delved deeper into Sara's family life, the role of her father and his partner in her death became a key point of focus. In particular, Urfan Sharif's relationship with Sara and her siblings came under intense scrutiny. Various reports suggested that there had been a history of domestic issues and allegations of abuse within the family. These suspicions began to form a clearer picture of the dynamics that may have contributed to Sara's tragic death. It was revealed that Sara's father, Urfan Sharif, had been previously investigated by authorities for domestic violence and child welfare concerns. While he had never been convicted of any serious crimes, his history raised alarms among investigators. This connection to potential abuse became central to the case, prompting questions about whether Sara's death had been the result of prolonged mistreatment at the hands of her father and his partner. Forensic evidence and autopsy report. The forensic examination of Sara's body provided critical insights into her cause of death. The autopsy report revealed that Sara had suffered significant trauma prior to her death. There were signs of blunt force trauma, which suggested she had been physically assaulted before her demise. The extent of her injuries indicated that she had likely been subjected to a period of sustained abuse, and forensic experts were able to link her death to a combination of violent physical assault and neglect. Moreover, the toxicology report suggested that Sara had been deprived of essential nutrition and care, leading to malnourishment and other health complications. These findings painted a harrowing picture of Sara's final days and suggested that her death may have been the culmination of ongoing mistreatment at the hands of her caregivers. Suspicions and media coverage. As the investigation unfolded, media outlets began to report on various details of the case, sparking public outrage and fascination. The story of Sara Sharif's death resonated deeply with people across the globe, especially given the child abuse element in the apparent attempt to flee the country. The fact that Sara had been subjected to such horrific treatment and that her family had apparently tried to evade justice intensified the public's desire for answers. Throughout this time, media coverage played a key role in keeping the case in the public eye. Reporters focused on the details of Sara's death, often speculating on the motivations of her father and his partner. This coverage fueled public interest and kept the case in the news, creating a widespread sense of urgency around the investigation. Legal and diplomatic complications. While international law enforcement agencies worked to locate Urfan Sharif and his family, legal and diplomatic challenges added complexity to the situation. Given that the family had fled to Pakistan, law enforcement in the UK needed to navigate complex international legal frameworks to secure the suspect's return to face charges. Pakistan, as a sovereign nation, had its own legal processes, and the UK had to work with Pakistani authorities to ensure that the suspects would be brought to trial. This process was complicated by the fact that Sara's family had strong cultural and familial ties to the region, which could have influenced local authorities' willingness to cooperate. Nevertheless, international cooperation was crucial in ensuring that justice would be served in the case. The ongoing investigation and legal proceedings. As of now, the investigation into Sara Sharif's death is ongoing, with law enforcement agencies continuing to gather evidence and build a case against the individuals involved. While the focus has primarily been on Sara's father, Urfan Sharif, and his partner, Beinash Batool, authorities have not ruled out the possibility that others may have been involved or that there may be additional details that have yet to be uncovered. The case is expected to evolve as more forensic evidence is examined and as investigators continue to piece together the circumstances of Sara's death. At this point, the focus remains on ensuring that those responsible for her tragic death are held accountable and on providing justice for a young girl whose life was tragically cut short. Impact on child welfare and domestic abuse awareness. The Sara Sharif case has had a profound impact on discussions around child welfare and domestic abuse. The tragic death of a young girl has sparked calls for greater attention to domestic violence, especially in cases involving children who may be at risk. The case has underscored the importance of early intervention and support for families facing issues related to abuse, neglect, and domestic violence. Organizations and advocates working in the fields of child protection and domestic violence have used the Sara Sharif case to highlight the need for stronger protections for vulnerable children. This case has prompted a renewed conversation about how society can better protect children from harm and how law enforcement and social services can more effectively respond to warning signs of abuse. Conclusion. The Sara Sharif case is a deeply tragic and disturbing example of child abuse and neglect. The young girl's death has captured the attention of people around the world, and the investigation into her demise continues to unfold. As authorities work to hold those responsible accountable, the case has sparked important discussions about child welfare, domestic abuse, and the role of law enforcement in protecting vulnerable individuals. The hope is that, through continued investigation and advocacy, justice will be served for Sara, and that her story will help raise awareness about the need to protect children from harm.